Welcome to week 4, day 2 of our e-learning lessons. We're going to continue with our lessons that we started yesterday, looking at Amphibian Alert and paying attention to the text feature, which was the title, and the visual features, which was the photographs from yesterday's lessons. Our performance task. The reader will need to use reading strategies to preview text, make predictions, ask and answer questions, and summarize the text to gain a better understanding of the text. Also, the reader will need to use a variety of strategies to determine the meaning of unknown words in the text. Our essential questions for day 2 lesson. How can I use context clues to help me to clarify the meaning of words within the text? Today we're going to pay close attention to 5 specific words as we read the text. Those words are amphibian, permeable, extinct, threatening, and ancient. They're 1 through 5 on the words you have on this page. Number 2, how can I explain how I determine the meanings of the words in the text? I need to make sure that we can go back and tell what clues we used and how did those clues help us with the meaning of the words. Context clues for Amphibian Alert. We're going to read Amphibian Alert as a group today. After we're finished, I'm going to ask you to please go back and look at the words that are on this list: amphibian, permeable, extinct, threatening, and ancient. You're going to have to be able to tell me the meaning of the words and what clues helped you with that information. Let's go and take time to look at the article that we're going to read. You have it in your work packet, Amphibian Alert. Frogs, toads, salamanders, and newts are amphibians. The word amphibian means double life because these animals live part of their lives in water and part of their lives on land. An amphibian starts life in the water and then lives on land as an adult. Amphibians lay their eggs in the water. These eggs do not have a hard shell. They are more like jelly. Young amphibians that hatch from the eggs look very different from adult amphibians. The young breathe with gills. They have tails that help them swim. As young amphibians grow, their bodies change. They grow legs. Lungs develop and their gills disappear. These changes allow amphibians to live on land and breathe air with their lungs. The skin of amphibians is not protected by hair, feathers, or scales like other animals. Their skin is permeable, which means they can absorb air and water through their skin. Amphibians are found all over the continents, on all the continents except Antarctica. They are ancient animals. They have been around for about 360 million years. However, their lives are being seriously threatened in today's world. In the caption beside the frog, tree frog. Most amphibian species are frogs. This is a common tree frog. Looking at the caption, newt. Most newts and salamanders are found in the cool forests of North America, Europe, and Northern Asia. And we see the newt right there. Scientists know of approximately 6,000 different kinds of amphibians, but this number could change quickly. Scientists say that more than 120 amphibian species have already disappeared from the world. These kinds of amphibians are extinct, meaning that all members of the species have died. Many different things are threatening the lives of amphibians, including habitat loss, pollution, introduced species, and a parasitic fungus. Scientists say that 2,000 to 3,000 of the amphibian species in the world are now threatened with extinction. It is the biggest extinction crisis in today's world. starting by looking at the photograph, our visual feature, and the caption, the text feature. The fire salamander lives in Hungary. Our heading, another text feature. Amphibians often live in swamps and ponds, but many of these swamps and ponds are being filled in to make way for roads, houses, and malls. Amphibians also live in the rainforests that are being cut down or destroyed by fire. The loss of these habitats often leaves the amphibians nowhere to live. Clean water is extremely important to amphibians. Adult amphibians need clean water to keep their skin moist. Adults lay their eggs in the water, and young amphibians live completely in water. Some ponds and creeks are close to farms. Chemical fertilizers are used on farms to grow better crops. Pesticides used to kill insects that destroy crops. However, when it rains, these chemicals are washed into the nearby ponds and creeks that lead to swamps and rivers. Many frogs in these areas have been found with deformities, such as missing legs or extra legs. Deformed frogs like these have been found in 44 of the 50 of the United States. Some scientists believe that the chemical pollution in the water is absorbed by the soft eggs of the amphibians and by their permeable skin. The chemical pollution affects the eggs and growth of the young, causing these deformities. In the caption, blue poison dart frogs are endangered and found only in 5 forests in Suriname in South America. Our next heading, introduced species and fungus. Since the 1930s, African clawed frogs have been shipped around the world by the thousands. These frogs are used in laboratory studies and for other purposes. Some exotic amphibians are shipped to other countries as pets or for food. Sometimes these amphibians escape or are released into their new habitat. In their new habitat, they can cause problems. The introduction of African clawed frogs into new areas has caused 2 major problems. African clawed frogs are more aggressive than many frogs, and they have been known to eat other frogs. But the bigger problem is that African clawed frogs carry a fungus called amphibian chytrid. This fungus does not hurt African clawed frogs, but is deadly to many other kinds of amphibians. Scientists discovered this fungus about 10 years ago. In the wild, the fungus is unstoppable and untreatable. It can kill 80% of the amphibians in an area within months. Scientists suspect that dozens of frog species have gone extinct because of this fungus. We see your visual feature, the African toad frog, the African clawed frog. The caption says, this cane toad lives in the Amazon jungle in Peru. Our next visual feature is a photograph of these tiny little guys, the black and yellow little bitty frogs. Our text feature is the caption. About 130 critically endangered Korobi frogs are being protected and preserved at Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia. Only about 200 of these frogs are left in the wild. Our next heading, another text feature, plans to help. Scientists and conservation groups from around the world are putting plans together to help save amphibians. Much of their work focuses on the amphibian chytrid fungus because the disease it causes is the most serious and immediate threat. Some scientists are researching how this disease spreads and why it kills only some individuals in one species, but kills all of another species. Other scientists are assessing the damage the disease has caused. The areas most affected so far include Central America, the Caribbean, Australia, and parts of Asia. However, scientists warn there is no continent or amphibian species that is safe. Conservation groups that include many zoos are taking in many of the threatened amphibian species to protect and preserve them. In the future, when the research scientists find ways to control the disease, the conservation groups will release these animals back into their natural habitat. And our final heading that we're going to read, what can we do? Like scientists, you can do research and learn as much as you can about the problems facing frogs and other amphibians. You can search the internet using search words such as threats to frogs and amphibians for more information. You can find maps and lists of the amphibian species in your area. Amphibians live all over North America and in every state of the United States. The Appalachian Range is home to many different species. Contact local nature preserves, zoos, or the Office of Environmental Matters in your state to learn about volunteer opportunities. You can also help by keeping local ponds and creeks clean. Although these small habitats may not seem as important as others, they are home to many creatures. We need to help preserve a future for them as well for us. Then at the bottom we have some visual features. We have the man in the green shirt holding the tanks with a bunch of different tanks behind him. Then beside him we have this little thing that kind of looks like some kind of plastic or rubber tray with these little jelly-looking balls or spheres on them. The text feature is the caption. A zookeeper at Taronga Zoo cares for Korobi frog eggs. Photo on the right. Tadpoles and young frogs. Zoos all around the world are developing similar conservation programs to protect amphibian species from extinction. In the article that we read today called Amphibian Alert, we're going to use that to help us with some questions today. The very first word that we're looking at is the word amphibian. If we look back in the text and we're looking for the word amphibian, we can easily find the word amphibian and we can decide what does amphibian mean. So right at the very beginning of our reading, we're going to go back and reread that part. Frogs, toads, salamanders, and newts are amphibians. But our focus is what is amphibian? The word amphibian means double life because these animals live part of their lives in water and part of their lives on land. When we go back to our work, we're trying to come up with the best meaning. We're not going to write complete sentences for our definitions. We're just going to put quick meanings. It means double life. They live in water and on land. And our clues, what helped us come up with that answer? Our clues are right there at the beginning of the reading. The beginning of the reading told us what amphibian meant. So we're just going back and giving quick little notes to remind ourselves, what does it mean? So amphibian means double life. They live in water and on land, two places. So the double means two, water and land. The clues, the beginning of the reading, told us what amphibian was. Now we've got to look for the word permeable. We're looking at the word permeable. We also saw it right here at the beginning where it says, the skin of amphibians is not protected by hair, feathers, or scales like other animals. The skin is permeable, which means, and here's what we're looking for, what does it mean? They can absorb, or another word for absorb, soak in air and water through their skin. So our meaning, to soak, I'm going to use the word they said, to absorb or to soak in air and water through their skin. And our clues, it was directly stated in the text by the word permeable. And our third word we're going to do together is the word extinct. And this is going to be our final word that we're going to do as a group. And then I'm going to ask you to do number 4 and 5 on your own. And then I'm going to also ask you to finish up the questions that go with today's assignment. The word extinct. If we're looking in the text, we're trying to find that word extinct, and we're trying to figure out where could it possibly be. So we're going through the text. We see the part talking about species have died. Many of them are threatening, and that is our fourth word. They're being threatened or threatening the lives of many of these species. And we go through, we see the word extinction, and extinction is also kind of the part of the word extinct, but more. But here's the word we're looking for. We're going to look at that paragraph and we're going to reread it, and then we're going to use our clues to help determine what does the word extinct mean. Scientists know of approximately 6,000 different kinds of amphibians, but this number could change quickly. Scientists say that more than 120 amphibian species have already disappeared from the world. These kinds of amphibians are extinct, meaning that all members of the species have died. They give me 2 clues here. The first one says they have disappeared. So species of a certain animal have disappeared from the world. The other clue it tells me is that all members of that species have died. So I'm going back to my answers. It means all members of that species has disappeared from our planet. Our clues, again, it was directly stated in the text by the word extinct. So we don't have to go in super big detail on those clues. We just have to kind of say where it was at. If they directly state it, we can say it was directly stated within the text. We don't have to give some kind of a big, amazing answer about how we were a mystery solver and we came up with a word. Most of the time with our context clues, they give us the answer right there in the reading. You just got to take time to look at the sentence that word is in, the sentence before it, or even the sentence right after it. In this case with extinct, they gave us a meaning before the word and a meaning after the word. Your assignment is going to be 4 and 5 as part of your graded work. I want you to look at the word threatening and then the word ancient. We saw the word threatening in the very next paragraph. We see it right there. And then I want you to find the word ancient, and then I want you to focus on that word, and you're going to look at what does the word ancient mean within your text. You're going to find it, you're going to reread that area, and you're going to come up with good ideas of what might it mean. Then the next part of your assignment, that would be your part of your graded assignment. Once you get through the text, which we just read together, you're going to go back in the text and you're going to look at the title and you're going to look at 3 different headings. I'll gladly read these to you and explain anything to them that might help you out to understand them a little bit better. The title, Amphibian Alert. Think about the words in the title. The 2 words, Amphibian Alert. We know what an amphibian is. Something that can live on water and land. An alert is when you're informed about something that is important. So now we know that amphibians are important. How does the title help you with the overall meaning of the text? So in this assignment, I want you to think about the title. How does it help you really understand what's important in this reading? Then I want you to explain, give me a little bit more detail. Your second question for today is a heading, one of our text features. It's called Habitat Loss and Pollution. How does the heading help you to comprehend or to understand what the text is teaching you? And you have to explain. Give me some examples. So if I'm looking at that heading called Habitat Loss and Pollution, I've got to think about the heading. How does it help me to understand about what's happening to these important amphibians? Think about what's happening to them. Why is it happening? Who's doing all this stuff to them? And what are they doing to them that's making them lose their habitat? For number 3, the next text feature that you're focusing on is called Introduced Species and Fungus. I need you to go back and look at the heading. And then I need you to also go back and think about the part that we read, this section. What's happening to these amphibians? Why is it happening to them? Who was the reason why all this started? Think about good details that you can put in your answer for number 3. Number 4 is asking you to look at the last text feature, which is another heading called Plans to Help. When you're looking at this part of the assignment, Plans to Help, I want you to focus on the plans to help and what we can do, both of these sections. So think about what this section, Plans to Help, and what we can do. What are scientists and people like us, what are things we can do to really help out with amphibians? And I need you to explain with good details. And number 5, I want you to pretend that you are part of the authors who wrote this article. If you can add another heading, what would the title be called? And why would you call it that? Remember that headings begin with a capital letter, just like a title. And it's got to be something that makes sense with the article. This is the final part of your lesson today. Make sure you give me good, complete sentences for questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The ones about heading in your title, about Amphibian Alert, and make sure you take time to explain what you're trying to say. The other part of your lessons that will be graded are the words threatening and ancient. I need you to go back into the text and give me good details that tell me more about what threatening means and what does ancient mean. And what clues did you use? If it was directly stated in the text, you can do what we did up here. Say clues directly stated in the text by the word. That'll be fine as well. I would like to remind you that you do need to take time to do your iReady reading minutes and your iReady math minutes. And also we do have books already selected for you on Mayan. You may take time to read through them. If you have questions about today's assignments, please take time to reach out to your teachers and we'll be more than glad to help you with those assignments. Thank you very much.